Welcome to our Dummy podcast, Global Operations on the Go. I'm your host, Therese Snow. Today, we're going to dive into the topic of cobotics with Loic Sandras. Loic is a dummy industry process consultant, operations engineering. He's joined the company recently and started by working on cobotics with the R&D team. So, welcome, Loic.
Hi, Taz. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. Glad that you can make it. So, to get started, can you please tell our listeners what exactly is cobotics?
Sure. The expression cobotics comes from the contraction of two words, collaborative and robotics. That's why we also talk about collaborative robotics. So, cobotics is a branch of robotics where the cobot is thought to assist the human to collaborate with operators, help him realize difficult operations. And this is mainly possible because a cobot is a more compliant evolution of an industrial robot with smaller speed limits, soft edges, and sometimes protective shapes directly mounted on it. They are really trendy, and if you have ever been to an industry event, you have probably seen a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From my own knowledge, yes, I do recall those. Super trending, very cool indeed. So, as you mentioned, trends, there's a trend that robotics will one day replace operators on their tasks. Some fear, in fact, that they could lose their jobs over this. Is that fear legitimate?
Well, to be honest, this is not only lose some jobs. So, to be completely honest, this idea that robots will replace some work is not 100% false. But we don't need to be afraid about that. And it's even quite the opposite, because cobots are thought to replace operators on the tedious, repetitive, and painful tasks. So, in a case, replace the non added value activities. So the workers can focus their mind and responsibilities on tasks with more added values and less dangerous. So this is really the strength of cobotics and robotics. What is important to have in mind is that robots or cobots are high-level technologies. So the use of robots will create a new need for new skills, less risky, which has a real interest in a world that we live in with this focus on operators' physical health.
All right, definitely important and good points. Thanks for the detailed answer. Clearly, we can understand that cobots are here to help us more than replace us. So that's a very good example. Can you explain more in detail what the difference is between a cobot from an industrial robot?
Well, we often divide the robotic domain, or the overall robotic domain, into three different collaborative levels. So the level zero, the first one, is basically the industrial robots. They are fast, they carry heavy and bulky loads, and trust me, you really don't want to cross the path of an industrial robot. That is why we can see them locked in high security cages. The first level is the coexisting robot. These are often industrial robots, basically the same one, but for which physical security have been replaced by presence sensors. So the operator can go for a walk next to the robot, but if he gets closer, the sensor will make the robot slow down until stopping it completely at a certain level of proximity. We also see industrial robots with added skin technologies to soften the edges. So in case of a collision, the damages will be drastically reduced. The second level of collaborative robotics is the real, what we call the collaborative robot, the cobot. This one is supposed to be self-sufficient to ensure the safety of the operators in its surrounding. It needs to respect the standard 10218, so which is the worldwide standard created for collaborative robots. So the safety measure can be either internal for sensors to detect a shock and stop the cobot instantaneously, or externally measured that is mainly managed with rounded edges that gives the particular shapes of cobots that we often see in the cobots in the market. An important thing is that the robot must be collaborative also with the tool he will carry.
No, I think that makes perfect sense with the tooling, especially when it comes to regard to sensors and safety, all collaborative, right? All part of the same process. So, having that in mind, Loic, can you explain additional advantages of the cobots?
Well, the main advantages of cobots is that they are more versatile and flexible than an industrial robot. So it's really much easier to move the cobot from one station to another, reprogram it to perform another task, and moreover, to install a cobot in production, you don't need to install physical security. So it's a huge gain of time, money, and space. The next advantage, as we already discussed, is that the cobot will be able to assist the operator in its activities. So, for example, to carry the non-added value tasks at the same workplace as the worker, or to perform activities in hard-to-reach places under car body, for example. However, being collaborative means that both the speed and the payload limits must be drastically reduced compared to an industrial robot. That's why cobots are not suitable for all use cases. While thinking about cobot implementation, the objective must be to improve the operator work conditions because it will certainly not increase the productivity. So it is really important for end users to study the integration possibility, especially with Delmia 3D experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, the integration, especially with, as you said, Dummy 3D experience. Glad that you're able to introduce our Dummy solutions, in fact. So, in your own words, kind of develop or explain what we can propose to our customers to take part of the Cobot integration study.
Yeah, so cobots have the advantage of being easy to program online. However, simulation can have huge advantages for validation and testing before on-site commissioning. That is why we will recommend to use Delmia 3D Experience. In Delmia, you can reproduce the virtual twin of the station. Thus, you can use this virtual twin to simulate robot trajectories, human activities, use sensors to detect cobot, human proximity, so you can validate your entire line before the implementation, being sure that what you will send to the shop floor will be 100% compliant with the requirements. The virtual twin can also be used to compare the performances between a cobot and an industrial robot to validate if the cobot cadence answer the need that you will have to answer before to invest on the cobots and online modifications. In addition, with our virtual commissioning capabilities, you can anticipate the programming and synchronization of all the logical controller and validate every what-if scenarios. Virtual commissioning is today not negligible to train operators and to help the acceptance on the shop floor. Moreover, in Delmia, you also have the possibility to use solutions to analyze operators' ergonomics on given activities. So you can use Delmia to see which human operation may require the help of a cobot and validate if the correlation is feasible. So this is a simple, non-exhaustive list of what are the capability that we can bring to our customers with Delmia 3D experience. And of course, we have a lot more capabilities. So if some of the listeners are interested on our solutions to cover this cobotics subject, can have a more detailed discussion on the entire portfolio we deliver, we offer.
Oh, yeah, that's fabulous. And in fact, at the end of the podcast, I'll make sure where it's posted that we add a link for our listeners for additional information. Look, this is really interesting just to hear about Cobotics and bringing in virtual twin and virtual commissioning. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Therese, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to talk about this trendy topic, which is the cobotic topic.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. For more information on Cobotics, as mentioned, just look for the link where the podcast is hosted. I'm your host, Therese Snow, and you've been listening to Delmia's Global Operations on the Go.